Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Southern Steel Show. Today we have a guest on that is in favor of Israel. If you've listened to my podcast at all, you realize that I am not in favor of the state of Israel or anyone who holds to the Judaistic worldview. Do you want your name said? Is that fine?
I don't care.
Okay. Name is Ruth Stopp. We're going to get into a few
No, it's
questions
not.
on...
No, it's not.
Her name is Ruth, but it's Stapp, right?
Yes.
She has an odd last name, and it gets said incorrect a lot, and it kind of pisses her off, so it's fun. I sound super loud in this. I haven't used these in a while. The headphones, I just record empty. So, anyways, I will not be debating her. We have already kind of talked about that in previous episodes. I will just be asking questions. But we also have two spectators at the table. They may or may not participate, but if they have any burning questions, they are mic'd up and they will be allowed to ask. They do not really have solid views on this topic, so I figured it'd be good to bring them in. Zach is a little closer to my side. Elena is pretty much neutral. But yeah, I'm throwing you under the bus. You're on my side now, Zach. You can talk. You don't have to just...
Zach's face is pretty loud right now.
Well, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. Hope everybody's been having a good week. Ruth, if you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself first before we get into the actual questionnaire here.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ruth. I am here tonight on Brody's invitation. The only reason I have an opinion on this topic is because for my senior year in high school, I had to write a thesis, which ended up being about 20 pages, and I spent an entire school year researching this topic, and this is the conclusion I came to. And then I defended it in front of a panel of judges and had to field questions from the audience as well in order to graduate. So here I am.
Yep, she was just talking about Israel. That wasn't really about her, but that's fine.
Nobody needs to know about me.
Fair enough. All right. Do you believe that as Americans, we should support the state of Israel?
Absolutely.
All right. Why? Political reasons only at this point in time.
Well, the first and foremost reason is that I would say that Jews have a historical claim on the land known as Palestine. Over the centuries, Jews have maintained a presence in that area, even following their expulsion during the Roman Empire and the diaspora that followed. Beginning in approximately 1000 BC, under King Saul, David, and Solomon, the entire land of Israel was under a unified Jewish kingdom. They have split eventually, and people will say that they left and their claim was therefore null and void. But many Jews stayed there, and they continued to return over time until they created the state of Israel on May 14th, 1948 in Tel Aviv. So that is definitely the biggest reason, I would say.
Zach, you got a question? Go for it.
Yes. I don't know if Brody's question was necessarily, does Israel have the right to exist or have their own state, but whether or not we as Americans should support them in that endeavor.
I would say you have to build up the case by arguing for their right to existence. It's building a foundation for the whole argument.
Gotcha.
So then, another more relevant answer to Brody's question is that all of Israel's serious enemies currently are rooted in terrorist organizations, and that poses a huge threat to American security if that gets severely out of hand. Because there are the better-known organizations such as Hamas and ISIS, but a lot of people don't understand that even the legitimate enemy nations to Israel, such as Iran, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia, all ascribe to Islamic values that lead to terrorism. Recent history shows that Middle Eastern countries are capable of being at peace with Israel until being taken over by Muslim extremists whose goals include eliminating the Jews. Time and time again, we've seen a nation approaching a peaceful solution with Israel, but the process is nearly always usurped by Muslim extremists. So I would say that's probably the most relevant reason right now for why Americans should support Israel's existence and our alliance. There we go, that's the word.
All right. So you've given the kind of political and strategic reason, and I won't go into that too much right now. I want to get through the questions, and then if I have any new ones, we'll jump into that. Do you believe that as Christians we have an obligation to support the state of Israel?
100%.
Why?
Because the biggest reason for this one is definitely that American Christians and Jews share similar worldviews. So the Judeo-Christian worldview has a lot of overlapping values. A people's worldview is intertwined with their beliefs and therefore their actions. So that's kind of crucial and fundamental to a nation's choices. And Israel's activity throughout the Israel-Palestine conflict has not been blameless by any means, but overall, they have attempted to fight as fairly as possible under the circumstances, I would say. Their enemies, however, do not have those moral convictions, and in their eyes, all Israelis are equally deserving of death, be they innocent or active military. American Christians should definitely endorse Israel's presence in the Middle East specifically because they are the only nation that is not consistently ruled by Islam. Obviously, the only true solution for peace in a widespread conflict like this is faith in biblical values, forgiveness, mercy, love, and God's definition of justice. Israel is the only present proponent of these values in that area of the world. Without such values, even if Israel were absent, Palestine would simply descend into an inferno of chaos, pitting resistance group against resistance group, neighbor against neighbor. We need the Jews in order to even hope for true peace in that region.
What were some of the key sources you used to come to these conclusions?
Yeah, so throughout my research on this topic, the top 3 books I used were Israel, A Concise History of a Nation Reborn by Daniel Gordis, Son of Hamas by Mossab Hassan Youssef, and Jeff Myers' Should Christians Support Israel, which is more like a tract, but it's pretty short, but it gives a very good case for the point. And then some articles I found online that were instrumental is Word Crimes, Reclaiming the Language of an Israeli-Palestinian Conflict by Donna Devine, and Identifying Israel's Enemies by Jonathan Bernis.
Thank you. All right, a little more meaty one. You know from earlier conversations with me that have not been recorded that my main holdbacks on Israel have nothing to do with really politics or strategic placement. Because if that was the case, I'd say that we don't actually have to let them have the land. We can just take it over as a military base. Because if the land is what's strategic, just do whatever. But that's not the goal. I don't want to do that because I don't want to spend the money on that. All of my reservations are religious. Do you believe that the United States is still a Christian nation?
It's getting farther and farther away from that, but the fundamental values are still there.
Okay. Do you think that it's good for a Christian nation to ally itself with non-Christian nations?
I think that's a perfect world question. So if in a perfect world, no. The best alliances would be with Christian nations, but there really aren't that many of those, and our options are extremely limited in that case. And if we based our alliances solely on a religious standpoint, we would have almost no allies.
Is that necessarily a bad thing?
Yes. If you've
Why
looked
is
at
that?
any government throughout history, you see that alliances have basically, they either make or break a nation in the end. Because it always comes to a conflict, wars happen, alliances are necessary.
So there's no other Christian nations on the
No,
earth?
I didn't
or-
say that. There's just very few.
Okay. Go for it, Zach.
I was just going to ask you, Brody, is there any other Christian nations that have the ability to be allies to us in a way that can support us or help us out at all?
Poland is currently building up their military quite well, honestly, because they've been kind of feeling the threat of Russia coming in and maybe doing what they've done in the past multiple times before. Poland's kind of got beat up in history. They just get attacked from all sides. But they're building up their military, and they have actually outright said in 2018 their Congress. I don't know if that's the word for what they call it, but their thing that's
Their
kind of equivalent to
legislature.
They actually said that Jesus Christ is King of Poland. And they have only seen growth since then, both in their morality and their economics. And they've seen a fall in a lot of crime statistics, whereas the rest of Europe has seen rising bad numbers, say murder, assault, things like that. On top of that, you've got Italy, which is kind of seeing its own revival right now, because it's historically been like a very Catholic area, but for a while they kind of went the way of New York, I guess, if you want to say. Like, you can use that as an example because they got very liberal for a little bit, but the past 8 years or so they've been pushing more and more towards the conservative side of politics, and with that they've also been pushing more back into their Catholic roots, which is not Protestant like us, but it's still Christian. There's a which one is it? It's funny. It's funny now because 10 years ago El Salvador was the murder capital of the entire world, and now they're actually safer than the United States because of their new president coming in and just kind of wiping out a lot of what was going on in that country. But because of what he's done, Christianity's starting to take a front row in that nation as well. Hey Bella, you can walk in and sit down. You don't have to be a part of it, but you can sit in a chair at least. Or not. She's going to sit there and stare at us from the corner. So, yeah, there are Christian countries to ally with. And, something that I think a lot of people don't look at because it sounds odd, because for so long the United States was at odds with them. Russia is a Christian nation. Like, they are one of the highest percentages as far as their population being Christian to their population just being in existence. They have a very high percentage.
So would you say that right now it would be smarter to ally ourselves with Russia over Israel?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
I don't think that we should have an allyship with Israel at all. So I would say it's smarter. Go for it, Zach.
Just looking at history overall, do you truly think that having a Christian faith makes you a good ally, just in any sense? I'm just thinking of the countless civil wars fought between Christian nations, fought between Catholics, Protestants over the years, and I'm not really seeing the evidence of the Christian religion making that just inherently a good ally.
Well, I'm not saying it makes them an inherently good ally. I'm just saying at least you somewhat know what their morality sits on. Like, you can trust that they will, if they actually hold to that belief enough for you to get into an allyship to begin with, then you have a better reason to trust them over a country that does not hold to biblical values. Israel, even if you say they hold to biblical values, they only hold to the Old Testament. The Old Testament is all war. So I don't know how that really is helpful.
I would say, though, that even ascribing to solely Old Testament values is going to lead to a better conclusion than the majority of nations right now.
If they only ascribe to the Old Testament, sure, but they have their own books. You've already told me you've read the Talmud, which is something I wanted to get into. How did you read that and not come to the conclusion that they do not have the same worldview as us?
Well, there's definitely significant differences in their worldview. I'm just saying the basic values as sort of a generalization, because we are making this conversation is including a lot.
What are
of
the basic values?
generalizations.
I guess would be a good thing to lay out.
I would say that they define it all. Everything comes down to definitions eventually, and I would say they define core values like justice or mercy, forgiveness, that sort of thing, the way the Bible does in a lot of instances. And this conversation is making a lot of generalizations. We're taking giant people groups and slapping big labels on them. So that's already kind of a risky thing. But if we're going down that path, I would say the same applies to Israel.
Interesting. I don't know that I've ever gotten to themes of forgiveness really out of the Old Testament versus, or out of anything except for maybe like Esau forgiving Jacob after Jacob gave him all kinds of stuff first. I mean, they're not, forgiveness is taught by Christ. It's not so much taught in the Old Testament. Well, and their Talmud doesn't even teach that at all. It's like anyone that's not a Jew should be killed. Like, it says that. So,
well, if you look at that, so does one of the tenets of Islam, which is jihad.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's closer. Out of the two, it's a lot closer to us.
We'll come back to that. Zach, go ahead.
From my understanding, isn't the Talmud just various rabbis arguing with each other over various things versus looking at the Quran? Like what you're talking about there is specific laws that should be followed, versus the Talmud is just essentially just arguing over the years between various rabbis. Some argue, like as I read a little bit, with some arguing very, very against Jesus versus some arguing saying actually he wasn't that bad, and back and forth. So it's a bunch of contradictions, not like a set in stone laws of religion.
But they're ascribed to. That's what I was getting at. Basically, what the Talmud is like if, say, you had the people that came up with the different Christian denominations and they just all started writing down what they believed certain scriptures meant, and then you put it in one book, it'd be like the Christian version of that. So Jews have just sat down over time and they're writing up what they think parts of the Old Testament mean. And a lot of it is like them just trying to get around laws so they can do what they want.
It's a lot of interpretation, which makes it a lot easier to change and to act on differently, whereas the Quran is hard and fast. It is full of contradictions, but it is hard and fast, and a good Muslim would ascribe to everything in it. So I would say that the Quran is way more dangerous of a road to go down than the Talmud, for
There's
sure.
different sects of Islamic people as well, though. You got like the Sunni and the whatever. I don't like Muslims, so I don't really get into that too much. I know that there are two different kinds, and I know some of them say, no, it's actually, it means this, and we're supposed to be peaceful. And you got the other ones like, nope, cut the heads off everybody that's not in that's an infidel, basically. So interpretation's always up to whoever's reading it. It doesn't mean that one religion is better than the other. And I'm not even arguing that Islam is somehow better than Judaism. I'm simply arguing that neither one of them even comes close to Christianity. If you're
I'd
both
say
going to
Judaism
hell,
comes a lot closer than Islam does. At least we start with the same book.
you start with a very undone version of the same book.
For sure.
If you don't have the conclusion of a book, then you're not going to draw the right conclusions yourself.
Totally.
And you're missing more than half of it.
I agree, but there's also the aspect of this whole thing that encompasses how not just the Jews, I'm talking about Israel as a nation. When I speak on this topic, I'm talking about the nation of Israel, the state.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get into
So-
more so, but some of his questions made me kind of go off on a tangent here, which is fine with me. Makes it more interesting, and that was not going to last very long because I expected more of an answer, I guess. I saw your thesis, and it was really long, so I expected to have to hear a whole lot.
I mean, I can go into a little bit more, but that's it more succinctly.
You think about going into it, Zach, you raise your hand again.
Sorry, I don't want to be asking too many questions, but
No,
this
you're
is just,
good. You weren't the invited guest, but I wanted more people to talk, so go for it.
Yeah, sorry. In y'all's discussion, I'd love for you to both answer how you, when discussing this topic, how you differentiate between the nation, the state of Israel, versus the religion of Israel, versus then the ethnic, like the Jews. How do you take that into account and differentiate when talking about this?
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
All right. I don't differentiate on anything except for if you are a Jew and you are a Christian. So if you're an ethnic Jew and you're a Christian, you're good. Otherwise, they hold to their values. Like, they're going to support Israel no matter what, basically. Like, I'm not going to decide my things based on the one or two exceptions that you see out there that say stuff more so like me. I follow a few of them on Instagram that think exactly like me because they're Christians. I'm like, go for it. Like, you're an ethnic Jew, but you're a Christian. I'm with you. But I am a religious extremist, to be fair. So it's hard for me to not just lump you all into one. If your entire nation kind of falls under like, oh, the Zionist sect of Judaism, even if they're not all actual religious Jews, then what does it matter? You're doing the evil of the religious Zionists. So
Can you define Zionist?
taking that land, no, I will define it as I define it, as I understand it. If there's another definition, then you can just say it right after me. I understand Zionism to be continually taking over the Holy Land until they get everything that they believe is promised to them. but they also think that they're the chosen people of God. So in the end, they think that everything's promised to them. So just kind of taking over the world. But
I have not
Jews-
seen anything anywhere that says they believe that everything is promised to them.
That was the whole point in them having a Messiah eventually. Their whole like war Messiah.
But since he hasn't, in their view, that he hasn't come yet, that's not. I've never seen anything that says they think they're entitled to that as of right now.
If
Is
you
it-
think
okay.
that you're entitled to it in the end, then you think you're entitled to it now. You just don't have a pathway to it.
I've never seen any arguments for that. And the way I've seen almost all of my sources define Zionism is Jewish people, and when I say Jewish, I mean religiously and ethnically Jewish, both, that wanted to create a Jewish state back before the nation of Israel was for the Jews.
So a Jewish state actually already existed in Russia. They
Mm-hmm.
didn't need Israel. And that one is a crap hole. So I don't know that there's really, like, they didn't need a new one. They just wanted that specific area because it was the promised land, except they're not in covenant with God anymore because they're not God's chosen people.
I
so.
don't remember the exact details, but there were issues with the area in Russia. They needed to move. And
Well,
there-
I mean, it's
don't
still
think-
in existence.
Yeah, but either there wasn't enough room or Russia wanted
It's
them out or
bigger.
something like that.
It's bigger than Israel. The reason it exists in the first place is because Russia did not want them to leave. Which part of that's probably because it's a bunch of commies. So it's
Wait, well,
like
wasn't
taking all over.
that Stalin's Russia too during that time?
Yeah, but they are still in existence.
I could see why they
could
want to
just
leave. Then,
if they want to.
yeah.
They needed new land for several reasons. I'm blanking on what exactly the reasons are, but they needed to move at the time.
Okie dokie. You have any questions, Elena? You just chilling over there in silence. So, all right. What was your original question that you wanted defined?
Oh, the differences between the types of Jewish.
Oh, go for it. I already gave my answer.
Okay, so there are distinct differences. There's ethnic Jews, which are the ones that are their heritage is coming from the Jews in the Bible, and then there's the religious Jews, which are people that they can be ethnically Jewish, but they could also just be converts into Judaism. And then there is the nation of Israel, which incorporates Jews, Arabs, anybody else who chooses to live there. So my argument is coming from the standpoint of the nation of Israel, which incorporates anybody who lives there. That's my answer.
All right. So you realize that, like, say Ashkenazi Jews specifically, they're European, right? They're not the Jews from the Bible.
They started in the area now known as Palestine, and then they got the diaspora forced them into Europe, and then they came back.
Most of them have like little to no DNA that hooks them to the Hebrew people. They only call themselves Jews because they hold to the whole Babylonian Judaism thing that kind of rose up because this king wanted a state religion and decided that's the one that he's going to twist. And he twisted it, to be fair. Like, Judaism at the time was still more so what we had whenever Jesus was around. But he took it and twisted it. And so now you get what you have today that kind of is what I point to a lot whenever I'm talking about the Talmud. Like, that guy is who messed the religion up to where it's twisted in my mind nowadays. But even then, that's where the Ashkenazi Jews are kind of from that area. And now they're back. So they're not really Hebrews. They're just Jews, which is not all the same thing. You have Sephardic Jews as well that
You're
are like
the
a
one
whole
who
different
said that
sect.
they're all the same thing. I'm the one that said there's differences.
I'm saying that everyone that says that they're a Jew, they say that because of originally they had some sort of religious tie to it, even if they're not religious themselves. I'm not saying that all of them are the same type of Jew. I'm just saying they're all Jew. Like, if they are a Jew of any kind,
So then what's your issue with where they come from?
with where they come from,
Why do you bring that up?
they don't have any ties to a land. Like, that's a dumb argument if they're all European. And if you're little to none,
Well, like you said, there's different types. So there's different types that now live in Israel, which means some of them are the ones with the claim on the land, and then people like, as you say, the Ashkenazi Jews came and now they live there and they ascribe to that, and Right. I don't really have, my opinions are not based in the fact that that the entire nation of Israel started out as the Jews in the Old Testament and have stayed that way and moved and came back and moved and came back. That has nothing to do with anything. It's the ones that did start there, they did get exiled. They did eventually come back. Others, they spread, others came back with them that didn't originally start there. And now it is the nation of Israel. My focus is on the fact that it is now the nation of Israel.
I'll get into the religious thing with Zoe whenever she comes up.
That's a good
All right, back to the political side of it. What have they done as far as like good for the U.S.? Because if they're an ally, they had to have done something that's helpful. Besides just intelligence, because like we have the CIA, we don't have to have them.
Well, the CIA is not great, but that's
Neither
a
is
whole,
Mossad.
That's a whole
There you
nother
go.
conversation.
I'm not going to trust an entirely different nation's intelligence agency over my own when I don't even trust my own. So at that point, what's the point in having any allies? Just overthrow your own government and restart.
Well, if you're coming at it from that point, I don't know why we're having this conversation.
It's just a question. Maybe it was just to make Zach laugh.
It's a crazy question.
Well, I mean, at that point, anarchy sounds fun. I mean, like when you're saying like, well,
Yeah, at that point, burn the world down. What are we waiting
you're
for?
essentially just arguing from a point of nihilism, and you can't know truth. And if well, if I don't trust anyone, then we should just destroy everything. Then and just start over. But then at that point, you just get start over with new people. And you're not going to trust those people, so then you have to burn it down again. So I don't really see the point of that making the comment at all.
Yeah. Same.
I just bring up stuff that's a little harsh sometimes because it seems like you have these people that, not you, I'm not talking about you specifically, that will like ascribe to like a non-interventionist standpoint as far as how the United States intervenes across the globe. Like, do we fund these people? Do we not? Do we help them militarily? And they'll sit with me over here and be like, yeah, we shouldn't be involved at all, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, also we should help Israel. I'm like, no, wait, what? Why? It's like, this is a dumb, why would we help them? That they literally are able to pay for all of this free healthcare stuff over there because we pay for all their military stuff. It's like, what? Let them pay for it. If they can afford to take care of their people. I don't even like the idea of free healthcare. But if you're not going to give it to us, then why give it to them? And even if you're not giving them money specifically for that, if you're giving them money where they don't now have to spend it on military operations and now they can spend it on their citizens, then don't give them money at all. Let them take care of their own problems.
And your position is that we benefit nothing from Israel, from any sort of military, just nothing.
My position is that we not only don't benefit from Israel, I think that there's a decent argument that we've been kind of hurt by our allyship with them. One thing that I heard here a while back that I have kind of kept real close is a guy said, you know, all these people using the religious arguments, not so much the political ones, but in this specific area, it kind of ties together. Is like, you bless Israel, you get blessed. If you curse Israel, you get cursed. I'm like, okay, what have we gotten from blessing Israel? Like, the nation has just slowly become more and more decayed morally. Like, they're gayer, they're poorer, everything sucks. We kind of had all these good generations up until we started supporting them and kind of had a part to play in making Israel as it stands today.
So,
and you've only seen a decline from then.
so if you're saying that, where would you say then the helping Israel comes from? Is it out of a naivete? Is it a guilt? Is it a as Candace Owens likes to say, we're a conquered nation? Like, what is your take on it?
I wouldn't go so far as to say we're a conquered nation. I listen to her sometimes, but I'm not really a fan of Candace Owens, so I don't ascribe to a lot of what she says because she like throws a giant can of paint at a wall, and whenever one spot sticks, she's like, I was right. I'm like, no, you weren't. Not really.
Agree. Yeah.
What was your question? Sorry, I like.
Where does the sense that Israel is not helping us out at all, but yet we continue to help them? Do you believe that's out of coming from that perspective? Is it out of a sense of
why do we
say, or, yeah, why are we doing that? If there's zero benefit and there has been none, why are we supporting them then?
Give me just a second so I don't shoot my mouth off.
That's why I just like to ask the questions, you know. Yeah.
Trusty phone here.
It's weird that I can hear you typing.
I type aggressively.
You do everything aggressively.
So-
I actually brought up a source that I'd like to read from whenever you're done.
Go for it. You can go first.
Okay, so this is an article written in JSTOR, which is a like an online platform for scholarly essays and articles. It's a research report called U.S.-Israel Relations Beyond the 38 Billion by Jonathan Rinhold from 2016. This part says it is regarding the monetary aid we have given Israel, specifically a deal that was signed in 2016 that gave them $38 billion. From the U.S. perspective, the agreement reflects the fact that Israel remains an important, powerful, and reliable ally with superb intelligence capabilities. In a very unstable Middle East, with the U.S. less inclined to play an assertive interventionist role in the region, Israel's value as a strategic asset is clear. $38 billion is a lot of money, but it is far less than would be required to deploy American troops directly, which is what America does in order to protect its interests and allies in much of the world. The aid, in fact, constitutes an indirect subsidy to American arms producers because Israel, in a significant change from prior agreements, will have to spend all of it in the U.S. itself. Some have even speculated that without previous Israeli purchases, some key American weapon systems might not have been produced. So the monetary support is kind of like a circle that in turn actually does help America. So that's just one thing about like giving the lots of money to them, because you brought that up earlier.
If they have to spend it in America, then why give it to them to spend in America instead of just spending it yourself?
Because it has other far-reaching consequences, like what I was talking about the keeping almost like a beacon of freedom in the Middle East, because there is no other country right now in that area of the world that comes even close to being as free as Israel is. We want to perpetuate freedom in the world. Communism is bad. Oppression is bad. We want free enterprise in places. We want freedom of speech in places, in as many places as we can get it. That is the only place in that part of the world that supports anything close to American values. So if we are supporting them, that keeps those values alive. In which case, that's just, if we can help that to grow or just stay there without being consumed by all the evil surrounding them, that can't be a bad thing, in my opinion.
Wait 1 second, Zach. I'll just say that I guess it's going to be hard to come together on that point simply because I don't think that they have the same values as us, governmental or otherwise. So it's
I'm
hard
not
to,
saying
like,
they have the
find
same,
them.
I'm just saying it's the closest to ours that exists in that area of the world.
That's also going to be hard for me to come together on. I guess because of how far I am on certain views, it's like a whole, I don't really care to help someone who has it sucks, but it's not as bad.
In which case, I would ask, why are we having this discussion? If your solution is burn everything down, or just
Well, my solution
forget
is not
everything.
burn everything down. No, I've already stated a few countries that I'm perfectly fine with having an allyship with. Who's calling me? Not right now, Ben. I just would like to burn up the contract that caused a partnership with Israel, I guess would be a better way for me to put it. Go for it, Zach.
Do you consider at all that we kind of use Israel as a proxy in that area? How we give them money, we give them weapons, and we kind of carry out strikes on people through them? At all, is that, you take that into consideration? Or because it keeps our hands clean, it gives someone else to...
Doesn't really keep our hands
versus
clean.
us.
That's just like paying an assassin, if we're just using them
Yeah,
as a bounce
but-
point.
On the global scale, people like to go after Israel then versus America.
If I thought they could be trusted, then the area itself has a strategic, like the specific area. Not saying the government does, but the area has a strategic value to it. They've sold our missiles to China before. Nobody considers China an ally to the United States. If your ally is selling your weapons to China, then they're not really an ally. So I kind of hit a hard wall whenever it comes to should we or should we not be in support of them. It's like, we gave them to you to use. Like, if we're allies, then we gave you the weapons to use, so why'd you just sell them to somebody else? Now they have access to ours, and they can make their cheap Chinese knockoffs of missiles now instead of basketballs and other things. So I feel like there was more to the question than I forgot. Like, that was a two-part one, but I might be going insane. Was it two-part?
No, I think that was
That was it.
yeah.
Do you have anything else to add? I know you had more stuff in your essay. So,
What?
and this is falling into a debate. I didn't want to come into it and make it a
all
debate,
knew
but it's
this was
hard
gonna
not
happen.
to.
Why do you think I showed up?
Zach said this will be entertaining. Also, with as much negative PR as there is against Israel these days, if you already believe that the United States government is corrupt, like their congressmen do take bribes, which I hear people say all the time, but they say they take them from everyone else, and then just, oh no, nobody would ever do that with Israel or AIPAC or anything like that. I'm like, you're dumb. They take bribes from anyone. They're not good people. Like, most congressmen and congresswomen are not good people
Yeah,
in general.
neither are ours.
So no, I know.
Every
That's what I was
government's
talking
corrupt.
about.
That's why I'm like, at the end of the day, which government is the least corrupt or the corrupt in the right ways? The least wrong ways, I guess.
If you've got one where you say anything negative about them and you get hated for it, then maybe they're the ones that are more corrupt. You know, everything gets denied. No, surely they wouldn't take bribes from Israeli politicians or Israeli friggin' secret agents or whatever you want to call them. It's like, okay, so only that country is immune? No, they just must have better bribes or blackmail. You can't just look at it and go like, these are perfect. Because at that point, then you're saying, no, they're actually better than ours. And then it's like, I know for a fact that's not true. So,
Okay, my last sort of point, I guess, that I would have is that I would like to bring up is, would you say that, obviously this is another perfect world question, but
I love those.
in a perfect world, we would be trying to achieve world peace, yes?
What is
Where
world
there's
Christian
no-
dominance?
Sure, but like there's no countries in conflict with each other.
Yes.
Okay, so if we got rid of Israel, how would that affect the conflict in that area of the world?
How did we get rid of them? What?
So because if we stop supporting Israel, I think that they would collapse. I don't
they,
see how
they actually have nuclear weapons. They don't need our help. They would just have to use those. So they have something called the Samson option, where it's like if they start falling, they're just going to start bombing everyone. And that, like, this is documented. It's not like a fake thing that's made up and only on Instagram. It's like actually something that exists, and they'll just start nuking capitals. Like, well, you didn't help us, so we're bringing all of you down with us, just like Samson did in the temple.
Where are your sources?
That one's just straight up Wikipedia.
You're getting your information from Wikipedia?
Where are your sources? Fox News?
No.
Where? Books?
Books, scholarly essays, people that have gone and done research, as many first-hand accounts as I could get my hands on, like a lot. I researched from both sides so that I could see, because that helps you get a better big picture view of the situation, but definitely not Wikipedia.
That one's on the Samson option. That wasn't like my main source on everything. I do everything you just said. We just come to different conclusions on it because I throw something that you made a comment on here a while back. That was funny to me. Is I said basically all of my final decisions came down to like, well, I don't really know. So what does it look like religiously? It's like, oh, it looks like not supporting them. So now that's my political stance as well. So, I mean, I don't just put my religious views into my politics. That is my politics. So it's very hard for me to think that it's good to support people that have historically been very highly against Christianity. Like,
I don't think they've been highly against Christianity.
what do you mean? They killed Jesus.
Whoa. That's crazy.
It's also true. Anyways,
That
Wait.
I'm not even
That-
going there.
Wait, so essentially the argument you just made is like, well,
that was a
we
joke,
owned.
by the way.
I know, but it was a joke that needed to be addressed. Essentially, what you just said is you were like, well, America, George Washington owned slaves. Therefore, all of America is pro-slavery.
Yeah, your
and
hasty
must
generalizations are.
and must therefore be evil. Like it's
Okay, so do you like it whenever someone blasphemes Christ?
No, of course not.
Do you think any of them like it whenever people blaspheme God? Because anyone that talks about Christ is therefore blaspheming God.
They don't think that.
If they're religious, they are.
They don't think that we can talk. What? What are you? Hang on. Ask that question again.
Christ
I get what you're
is
saying.
a blasphemer to the Jews, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would they not therefore be aggravated anytime somebody talks about Christ as like a good person?
I think saying they is a logical fallacy.
Well, once again, you have to separate the nation,
Yeah.
ethnic group, and religion.
Or even just individuals. Like, it depends on the person. Like, some people are going to get mad. Some people are going to have a logical discussion about it. And some people are just going to be like, you do you. This is a case-by-case basis.
Culture is played out by one sect or another. You can't always separate stuff into these specific areas.
But on the flip side, you
America
can't
is a-
always take one sect and generalize an entire nation or people group based off that one group of people.
Yes, but that nation and people group are all the same people made up a nation. They're not like America where it's a bunch of different diverse cultures coming together, which I don't think is a good thing anyways. But they all came from Jews. Like, that's what made Israel. And then you just have some Arabs there as well that are there because they what's the word whenever people move around all the time? Nomads?
Nomads, yeah.
Right, yeah. So you had some of them that were there that are still there. That's what the whole Gaza-Palestine war's about anyways, is take over Palestine and kick them out because why are they there? I'm not in favor of Palestine either. I don't know if I've stated that yet. Like, I'm not in favor of either of them. I don't really have a side in the war itself. I just don't want to be involved. Go, Zach.
I got an audience question, and as someone sent me a question from the audience, but it's a little above my brain capacity. Could I just have the audience member come and ask the question yourself?
Can I just read the question and I'll...
Wayne can ask it. Here. Shoot top.
Is all of that supposed to be read, or is it just... Oh, sorry, I saw that part and thought that was the same text. All right, question is, what is the New Testament's teaching on the irrevocability of God's promises to ethnic Israel, and how does this relate to the concept of the church as the new Israel? So I would say that the destruction of Jews that were remaining in Israel at the time of, I believe it was Tiberius was the emperor at the time. Nobody can see it. I'm not recording it video. Nobody's going to know who you are. The audience member wishes to remain anonymous. Ethnic Jews that still held to any sort of being a completely separate nation. Because, I mean, everybody that left and didn't come back just assimilated into culture. So they didn't remain Jews. They just had some Jewish blood, if they had any at all. All of them that stayed in Israel were still, like, yeah, that's God's chosen people. They were culturally different. They were trying to stay out of, like, mixing with Romans and Gentiles and everything like that. So the bloodline was all Hebrew. They revolted against Rome, and then Rome said, oh, actually, you're this tiny little nation that doesn't really have any power, and they just went in and slaughtered everyone. So I think that pretty much erases any real covenant there just because they don't exist anymore. And that was I'm actually a Dominion theologist. I'm not like a pre-mill or post-mill or anything like that, which means I think that there's certain promises that Christ talked about that doesn't fall into like, oh, it's around the time of the rapture, because I also don't think the rapture exists. Where I think whenever Jesus was talking about like a great destruction, that's what he meant, because it was like 70 AD. It was only 30, 40 years after Christ died and rose. So if Rome destroyed everybody that was there, it's like, okay, well, that pretty much makes a good argument for now you've got the new Israel or the new church. But I also don't think you have to get rid of a people group to consider Christians the new church, or not the new church, the new Israel. because they hold to the covenant with God, and Jews don't. So, unless they actually, like the ethnic Jews that come to Christianity, awesome. I like it when every ethnicity comes to Christianity. The whole goal is to make it where everyone is a Christian. I don't want peace with Muslims or peace with Hindus or peace with Jews. I want all of them to be Christian. Then all of us get to heaven. So, I don't know if I really answered that question because it was a little confusing in my mind. But if you have an add-on to it, just text me again and I'll read more. So, Ruth, you looked confused as
No, I was
much
just
as I
listening.
was. So,
I was just listening.
do you have an answer to the question from your side?
Ask the question again. What is?
Go for it.
What is the New Testament's teaching on the irrevocability of God's promises to the ethnic Israel, and how does this relate to the concept of the church as the new Israel?
I think that's a Zoe question.
Okay, I definitely
I think you
answered
should
that
table that.
entire thing incorrectly.
You
I did
should
not
table
understand
that
the question.
for Zoe. That seems like a very Zoe question.
No,
Maybe, but it was also a question here, so that
Yeah.
I can dive into it further. with
Y'all
Zoe, but
y'all
that
should
doesn't mean-
talk and debate this now, so then later Zoe can school y'all and be like, oh, now I get.
I want to talk and debate it now so that I don't get schooled. I kind of have an idea of what's going on next time. No, what is it? Jew and Gentile, neither one of them exist in Christ. So if neither one of them exists, then the covenant is to everyone that chooses Christianity, not a specific people group.
Yeah.
And that's something that me and Ruth and I agreed on. We don't agree that they're like God's chosen people anymore. So most of her reasoning for supporting Israel is just political. It's not religious. So that's why we've hit dead walls into anything that I brought up that's religious. She's like sitting over there like, what are you doing? This is not what we're supposed to talk about. Because we both believe that Christians are God's chosen people, not
The
Jews.
criteria for salvation is not ethnicity. It
No.
is, do you believe that Jesus died on the cross and rose again for your sins?
Yeah. Honestly, and it never has been either. And that's what a lot of people get into the weeds on is like the only people that could have got to heaven before were Jews. But you've got examples of Gentiles grafting in to the Jewish people, like specific ones, and they were mostly prostitutes, honestly.
That's true. By
So-
marriage and whatnot.
But they were Gentiles. What was Rahab?
She was a prostitute.
No, what? I know
I was like,
there was like a nation that she belonged to.
Oh,
Like,
wasn't she in Jericho?
was it Jericho?
Yeah.
So she definitely was not a Jew.
No, but she was
They
still
killed everyone else in the city, so she definitely wasn't. But she grafted in, and she's in the line of
Yeah.
Christ, right? So, like, there's pretty good chance that she's in heaven now and got saved, and she wasn't a Jew. So it's never been about ethnicity, and it never will be. And that's something that Ruth and I will agree on and do have common ground.
So we have another question from the audience.
Oh yeah. Is that right?
Follow-up question. At what point was the covenant broken? Which I would like to answer this one.
Go first.
I would say the covenant was never broken. I'd say the covenant was simply fulfilled in Jesus dying on the cross. And the same process, the process changed, but the ending is still the same. There's still, before it was just humans making the sacrifices in order to atone for their sins. And it was temporary because humans are not perfect. And therefore, they can only atone for so many sins at one time. That's how it worked in the Old Testament. And then when Jesus died on the cross, that was the ultimate sacrifice. So now we no longer have to make sacrifices. So that portion of the process was just simply fulfilled, but the same thing is still in place. So I would say the covenant was never broken.
I would actually agree with that because I think that the idea that, first off, Christianity does not come from Judaism. It's just one long line. It's the same religion because it was the worship of a Messiah before he came. It was the worship of the Messiah while he was here, and now it's the worship of the Messiah with him going to come back, basically. So after he got here and then left, it's all the same covenant because it's still just worshiping the Messiah. Now it's just a matter of, are you worshiping the Messiah or not? Or are you worshiping Satan because you're the synagogue of Satan? Anyways, any other audience questions? No? Any Elena questions? No? Zach, any more? You got anything you want to close on? I can't think of anything else. I'm really tired. I
too.
wanted to have a better brain for this,
Me
but I
too.
have not had it. So
It's all good. It was a solid discussion.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening. This will be up, I guess, when you're listening to it. It doesn't matter if it's not live, then you're not going to do it. I just checked my watch, and I don't have a watch on, so that's why they're laughing at me right now. I do have a phone, though. We are recording. This is the end of it. It is 7:48 p.m. on Sunday. You will be listening to it first on Monday, or you'll be listening to it on a different day. All of this is confusing. Thank you for listening. See you next time on the Southern Steel Show.